Is it safe to travel to Colombia right now? For decades, that question was almost rhetorical. In the minds of many travelers, Colombia was synonymous with danger. An image shaped by headlines, documentaries, and larger-than-life stories of cartels and guerrilla warfare. Pablo Escobar, the FARC insurgency, kidnappings that made international news. These were the snapshots that defined Colombia for an entire generation. But that narrative, while grounded in real events, was never the whole story. And today, in 2025, it is no longer an accurate picture of what most travelers will encounter. I'm Stephen with the Travel Safety Network. Over more than 20 years in global safety and crisis management, I've learned that countries can transform themselves that once seemed impossible. Colombia is perhaps one of the most compelling examples of how a nation can step out of the shadow of violence. In this video, we're going to look honestly at where Colombia stands today. We'll explore whether organized crime is still a threat, which regions are safer, and what you need to know if you're planning to visit. We'll also look at the perspective of major travel advisories and examine how safe it is to experience Colombia's cruise ports and resort areas. Stay with me until the end, because I'll share a surprising fact about Colombia's tourism resurgence that might change how you see this remarkable country. Let's start by going back in time for a moment. It's impossible to talk about Colombia without acknowledging how deeply the drug trade once shaped its identity. In the 1980s and early 1990s, cartels operated with almost unimaginable power. Medellin became notorious as the stronghold of Pablo Escobar's empire. Cali was home to its own criminal dynasty. Entire regions of the country fell under the control of armed groups who financed their operations through cocaine trafficking, extortion, and kidnapping. The violence wasn't confined to remote jungles. Political assassinations, bombings, and shootouts happened in major cities. For a long time, it was considered one of the most dangerous countries in the world to visit or do business. But the past 25 years have brought profound change. Escobar's death in 1993 marked the beginning of the end for the Medellin cartel. The Colombian government, supported by international partnerships, launched sustained operations to dismantle organized crime networks and demobilize guerrilla groups. While these efforts were not perfect, and the scars are still visible, the transformation has been undeniable. Medellin today is almost unrecognizable from its past reputation. Cable cars climb hillsides once controlled by gangs, connecting communities that were previously cut off. Public spaces brim with art and innovation. The city has been celebrated as a model of urban renewal. Bogotá, Colombia's capital, has also evolved into a dynamic hub of business and culture. Cartagena, with its UNESCO-listed Old Town and Caribbean beaches, is now firmly on the global tourism map. Even regions once considered off-limits are drawing visitors seeking adventure, coffee tours, and authentic cultural experiences. But the story isn't simple. Organized crime hasn't disappeared in Colombia. It is splintered, diversified, and in some areas embedded itself in new ways. Instead of 2 or 3 monolithic cartels, there are now numerous smaller criminal organizations, sometimes called backrim, criminal bands that rose from the ashes of larger cartels. These groups are involved in drug trafficking, illegal mining, extortion, and sometimes violence. Yet it's important to understand that these criminal activities are not evenly distributed across the country. Much of the violence that still occurs is concentrated in rural areas, along drug routes, or in contested territories. The vast majority of visitors who stay in established tourist destinations and urban centers do not encounter these issues directly. This distinction is critical. The Colombia that most travelers experience is not the Colombia that dominated news cycles in the 1990s. It is a place where tourism has become an essential part of the economy, where cities have invested heavily in safety and infrastructure, and where locals are often the first to tell you how proud they are of how far their country has come. That said, travelers still need to be smart. Opportunistic crime, pickpocketing, bag snatching, scams, is common, especially in crowded areas or after dark. Violent crime, while much reduced in many places, can still occur, and the risk increases significantly in less developed regions. This is why the U.S. State Department currently advises travelers to exercise increased caution when visiting Colombia, and specifically warns against travel to certain departments where crime and kidnapping remain more common. Canada's Global Affairs Office offers similar guidance, highlighting that while popular destinations such as Bogotá, Medellín, Cartagena, and Cali are safer than they once were, vigilance is still necessary. The UK Foreign Office and Australia's Smartraveller both echo this, noting that demonstrations can occur and that petty crime is a persistent issue in urban centres. If you are thinking about arriving by cruise ship, you'll be glad to know that Colombia's major ports have invested significantly in security. Cartagena, in particular, has become one of the most visited cruise ports in the Caribbean. The old city is encircled by massive stone walls dating back centuries, and within those walls, the streets are lively but generally safe, especially during the day. Cruise lines work closely with local authorities to coordinate excursions, maintain a visible police presence, and manage crowds. The resort areas along the Caribbean coast, including Santa Marta and the Rosario Islands, have also focused on safety. Many resorts operate much like their Caribbean counterparts in other countries, with private security, secure perimeters, and close cooperation with tourism police. For visitors who remain in these zones, the experience often feels far removed from the Colombia of past headlines. Of course, it's important not to let the safety of these tourist enclaves lull you into complacency elsewhere. The moment you step beyond the controlled environment of a cruise excursion or resort, you must bring a higher level of awareness. Understanding which neighborhoods are best avoided, using reputable transport, and securing your belongings are all essential. In cities like Bogotá and Medellín, the transformation has been remarkable, but the disparities are still real. It is possible to move between vibrant districts full of restaurants, shops, and nightlife, and then, just a few blocks away, encounter areas where poverty and insecurity remain serious issues. Locals will often remind you not to walk around alone at night, not to flash expensive electronics, and not to take unregistered taxis. This is the paradox of Colombia today. A country that has achieved a dramatic reduction in violence and built a thriving tourism sector, while still grappling with pockets of crime and inequality. If you can hold those truths together, if you can respect the past while embracing the progress, you'll find that Colombia offers some of the most rewarding travel experiences anywhere in Latin America. From the coffee plantations of the Zona Cafetera, to the beaches of Tayrona, the colonial splendor of Cartagena, to the pulsating nightlife of Medellín, Colombia has emerged from its dark chapters with a sense of resilience that you feel everywhere you go. And this is why, in the coming weeks, I'll be releasing a series of videos that take a closer look at Colombia's regions and cities one by one. We'll dive into Cartagena, what to see, where to stay, and how to navigate the old town safely. We'll explore Medellín's transformation in detail, and we'll look at Bogotá, Cali, and the Pacific coast. Each destination has its own character and its own safety considerations, and you deserve information tailored to where you actually want to go. So is it safe to travel to Colombia? The answer is that it depends on where you go, how you prepare, and whether you approach your trip with the respect and awareness that any complex country deserves. If you stay in established tourist areas, use reputable transportation, and take common sense precautions, you are likely to have a smooth, inspiring journey. But if you assume that progress means all risks have disappeared, you might find yourself unprepared. And now, here's the surprise I promised at the start of this video. Despite its past, and despite the persistent challenges, Colombia has been named by several international travel publications as one of the fastest-growing destinations in the world for tourism. The United Nations World Tourism Organization recently reported a sharp increase in arrivals, driven largely by visitors who want to see for themselves how much has changed. In fact, Colombia's tourism recovery has outpaced many of its regional neighbors, a testament to how far the country has come and how ready it is to welcome the world. I'm Stephen with the Travel Safety Network. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone considering a trip to Colombia. And remember to stay tuned for my upcoming videos, where we'll explore this country in more depth, city by city, coast to coast. Until then, stay informed, stay open-minded, and remember, safety is your travel superpower.